This is What in the World is Happening, where two filthy liberals look at the news and try to figure out what's going on. And we are now on what feels like the 26th day of the world's longest week. My name is Taya, and with me is my co-conspirator, Dee.
Hi.
So, yeah, what a week.
What a week.
A week of upsets and disappointments and...
Yeah. Well, the first song that came into my head was, "Oh, what a night."
Yes, yeah, it was, wasn't it? Before we get into anything, people might ask, you're British, what do you care? It's the American election, but...
What's your saying?
Well, my dad always said, when America sneezes, Britain catches a cold. And that couldn't have been more true than during Trump's previous presidency.
Yeah.
It really affected our political landscape because suddenly, people like Farage and stuff suddenly had a lot more legitimacy.
Yeah.
So
we also had to go through the whole Brexit thing.
Yeah.
And, if it wasn't, I don't think we would have left the EU. I mean, this is pure speculation. But
the EU thing happened before Trump's election. It was a few months before that. It was all 2016. 2016 was like such
blurred year, I should say.
Yeah. But, so it's the podcast equivalent of moving hair from the
face.
But,
okay,
so you've been looking into this because we couldn't make sense of it. And, and I think the same people are in the same...
Yeah, I think a lot of...
being able to make sense of this whole thing, so...
Yeah, I think a lot of people are still in shell shock right now.
Yeah.
Because Miss Harris, basically, I think her campaign was excellent. Mm-hmm. I think she was hitting the right points and things like that. But what the news outlets are saying is that she didn't hit those demographics. And I guess the issue now is why. So,
I think it's in a weird way. It was comforting to know that we were, our panic attack was part of like a global panic attack.
Yeah.
Like we were all like everyone on one side of the political spectrum. We were all collectively having a panic attack. We all collectively needed a mental health day yesterday.
Yes, definitely needed that yesterday. But American politics affects most things. Like most of American culture affects most things.
Especially with Trump talking about his tariffs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to affect not just the US's prices. It's going to affect prices globally.
Yeah.
And his foreign policy is insane.
Yeah. So do
you remember the end of 2019? We were all kind of, are we going to go into 2020 with an impending nuclear war?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that period before Christmas where it was like World War III watch day 7.
Yeah.
And he's having this pissing contest with Kim Jong-un.
Do you know what's really funny? Now that he's been elected, in the papers, it actually says that because Trump has been elected, World War III is not going to take place.
Is that the right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Because, he's got his ways with Israel and China and Russia and places like that.
I think what kind of scares me about the whole thing with Israel is he's essentially just going to give Netanyahu the go-ahead to treat Palestinians however he sees fit. I saw a headline saying that essentially... between the two of them, Trump and Netanyahu are essentially just going to turn Gaza into beachfront property.
Yeah.
So, okay, talk to me about what you've been looking at.
Right, so really, I was in so much shock that I actually had to look up the number of voting registrations there were and various statistics, okay? So
is this because there's been this rumble that 20 million votes are missing?
Yes.
Okay.
So the headline...
So can I just check, before we go into that, can I just check, has that been substantiated, or is that just the Twitter sphere?
That's more the Twitter sphere, unfortunately. That's more the Twitter sphere, unfortunately.
And has the White House made any statement or anything like that?
Well, I can tell you what AP News said. Okay. So The claims are unfounded. Votes from Tuesday's presidential election are still being counted. So they haven't all been counted yet, which I think is so bizarre that you can say what the election is.
You can call the result before the results are in.
Exactly. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's
like that's like an oncologist saying, like, we've done a biopsy, and based on the vibe, I'm gonna diagnose you whether or not you have cancer.
You know, this whole, I don't understand it, if I'm 100% honest, but this whole electoral votes thing and
the electoral
college thing and popular votes and things like that. If the president is supposed to be working for the populace, shouldn't it be the populace that makes the decision? It should be based on a popular vote.
Yeah. Not I mean, okay, I've watched things that have explained the electoral college, and it still doesn't make sense to me, because I mean, in the modern day, with the way population is how you have dense populations here that didn't have dense population back then, and you don't have, I mean, it's confusing because it's also, it was designed because of because of like the number of slave owners and that's what it was about. And the thing is, if a mechanism was designed to sort of facilitate a particular political, or let's say social breakdown of demographics, and that breakdown of demographics no longer exists, surely that mechanism should not exist anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with that. Because also you've got gerrymandering in the US as well, which is like, when they feel like they should move.
Let's move this district. Let's just move the line of this district over here.
Yeah.
So
again, that is not fair, because they put people like us in. I mean, we're not American, but if we were living there, it would put people like you and I in a majority Republican city.
Our Conservative Party keeps looking at how the Republicans do things and be like, why don't we do that as well? Let's try that a little.
Yeah.
But so talk to me about the statistics you found.
Okay. So the first statistic that I found, again from AP News. This one's actually from bipartisanpolicy.org. Roughly 244 million Americans will be eligible to vote in 2024. AP News states, as of today, voters nationwide have returned a total ballots of 84,984,925.
So less than half.
Voted. So, and I don't know why that is, because when we were looking at Twitter and TikTok and places like that, it felt real. It felt that these people had gone out to vote for Harris, that there was going to be a blue wave.
Yeah, but that blue wave is such a, I don't know.
I know, I get that, but
blue wave is, like, when they talk about blue waves or red waves, that's predicting, isn't it? It's predicting something that is trying to predict an outcome that is a flip of a coin in some ways, But, I mean, from what I've been looking at, some of the reasons people didn't vote for Harris
go on,
are so ridiculous.
Oh, okay.
Like, there was they spoke to someone, this is just insane. This is the most freaking insane. Because she didn't appear on the Joe Rogan podcast.
I've heard that.
Okay.
But that has nothing to do with anything.
When you have, I think it was John Oliver was talking about a lot of Muslim Americans wouldn't vote for Harris because of her stance on what's happening between Israel and Palestine.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That is a legitimate reason to have an issue with a politician or their stance, but you are voting against her for someone who previously tried to implement Muslim bans.
Yeah, yes.
He treats Muslims terribly.
Terribly.
I mean, in some instances, you have to sort of like look at the lesser of two evils, and he's not going to have a better approach to what's happening in Palestine. I mean, if anything, he's going to be like, hey, listen, Netanyahu, I'll loan you some steamrollers. You can just get rid of a lot of them.
Yeah.
It could be something as terrible as that.
Yeah,
I mean, he does not see he does not see this population as people.
No, he doesn't.
If he describes Muslim Americans as vermin, what's his stance going to be on foreign Muslims?
Yeah.
So
I mean, you got to remember, one of his policy things is to do with immigration.
Yeah.
So he is going to go around kicking people out.
Well, he's talked about mass deportation on day one. And
so
he's talked about something that it has been estimated as like a 5-year process, and he's saying it's going to happen on day one. And his disciples believe that.
Yeah,
they believe that day one,
Yeah.
as soon as the inauguration's done, he's just going to round up all the brown people and kick them out the country.
Well, okay, so when it's come to voting, most of the news stories I've read and looked up at basically says that she was too close to Biden, that they were talking about Bidenomics, and also the fact that she was his
But
VP.
she had her own economic plan. That
Yeah,
had nothing to do with
yeah.
Biden.
Wait.
All she was doing was just springboarding off of it.
But that's the problem I've got with it. Is that you're right? They were springboarding off of it, but she had plans for almost every demographic in America.
Yeah.
Trump doesn't have that.
He has concepts of plans.
He has concepts of plans.
Well, he doesn't need plans.
No,
because
he's got
Project
2025.
So
and how are people not scared of that?
Talk to me about the stats.
Okay.
I want to know about the demographics.
Okay, 1 minute.
I know that white people are the biggest problem here. Like the majority of white voters voted for Trump.
Yeah, that's very true. But a high majority also... sorry, give me a minute. Oh, here we go. Right, so on the BBC, I looked up the latest exit polls and their key demographics. So, they were... So out of 100, so 42% of men voted for Harris, 55 for Trump, 53 for women, and 45 for Trump. Got to remember, in America, there are more women than men. 57% were white that voted for Trump, 13% black, Hispanic and Latino, 46%, Asian, 39%.
Pause.
Yeah.
Hispanic and Latino men. But he's constantly talking about them being rapists.
No, this is just on race.
Yeah, I know, but he constantly brands Latino.
I know.
I mean, look at how he talks about Mexicans. Look about how he talks about Puerto Rico. Look, I don't understand how you can listen to him for 9 years, demonize your demographic, and still go, yeah, he's our guy. He's the one who's going to fix it.
I'm going to say one statistic that's completely thrown me is our generation.
Really?
Our generation.
The millennials.
The millennials. So that's the ages of 45 to 64. 54% voted for Trump.
Oh, that's not millennials. That's Gen X.
All the other demographics, 18 to 29, 30 to 44, and 65 and over, all voted for Harris. Mm-hmm. But the majority of people between 45 and 64 voted for Trump. Now, I get why that happens because of the way that generation grew up and what they consumed and what their area was like. But they're not going to be here for long. They're not going to be around.
You're voting for a future that you have no stake in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I just find that astonishing.
Yeah.
That particular demographic was the one. We as people could have more rights than the young ones. Why?
I think this all comes down to, it's what we always talk about, how the problem with politics, or the problem with how we vote, is we vote for what we don't want.
Yeah.
We don't vote for what we need.
Yeah.
We vote for what we don't want.
Yeah.
And with Trump's people, it's like they they don't want a woman in charge. They don't want a person of color in charge. They don't. I mean, look at how much they lost their shit over Obama, and they don't want transgender people.
No.
They don't want reproductive rights for everyone. They don't want transgender healthcare.
They don't want healthcare full stop.
They don't want anything that it has even the slightest whiff of what they believe socialism is.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just vote against things rather than for things.
Yeah.
He has no plan for helping people or getting things done. He just has plans for punishment and disenfranchisement and things like that. And that's what people voted for. They voted for
what they didn't want.
They voted for the things they wanted to get rid of. But he, 8 years ago, he was saying he was going to drain the swamp.
Yeah.
And if anything, all he did was make the swamp fester.
Yeah. Going back to immigration, on NBC News, there's this statistic. So basically, should most undocumented immigrants in the US be offered a chance to apply for legal status or deported to countries that they came from? 75% of Democrats think they should be offered legal status, and 87% of Republicans think they should be sent back.
But that's a very loaded question, because it's not saying if undocumented immigrants were here for this reason or that reason, or came here like this or came here. No, it's just all undocumented. It's just a blanket decision for a very complicated situation.
Yeah. It's just
disheartening.
It is disheartening.
Because we talked about for ages. I'd love to one day move to the States.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
now it's like, no, screw that. I don't even want a holiday there.
No, not at all. With regards to how confident are you that this election is being conducted fairly and accurately? 62% of Democrats say it will be. 81% are not. 81 Republican aren't.
81% of Republicans say
Yeah.
that. Oh, okay, cool. So we have a legitimate reason to recount the
Yeah,
votes.
because they don't believe
The
it.
Republicans, the guy, the party that won, they don't think it was a fair count. So let's do it again, shall we? I lost a lot of hope yesterday. I lost a lot of faith in humanity yesterday.
Yeah, I agree. I did. So I mean, it's basically the worst product of our world just coming back to haunt us.
And it feels like the ones who voted for him are the ones who stand to lose the most under his presidency.
Yeah.
He wants to get rid of social security. He wants to gut the Department of Education.
Yeah.
Because he likes the uneducated.
Yeah.
He loves the uneducated. It's much easier to convince an uneducated person that the reason their life isn't satisfactory is because of the foreigner next door, not the billionaire who has gamed the system, who's had a 948% pay rise since the 70s, while you've only had a 12% pay rise. So.
Talking about billionaires, after Trump's won, there's this statistic where I think it went up by how much was it? Did I say?
$813 billion or something like that.
It was
some
something
ridiculous
stupid.
number. Yeah.
So billionaires got.
No, Trump win sparks record $64 billion gain for the world's 10 richest people.
That was it. I read that, and.
No wonder Bezos didn't want the Washington Post endorsing Kamala.
But can you imagine what American news is going to be like once he's dismantled the Constitution and decided to put Christianity into schools?
This is it, though. Every time the Democrats said, he wants to do this, he wants to do that, he wants to do that, and his party would come back and say, no, he never said that. And it's like, there is a tweet for all of it. There is a truth post for all of it. There is an interview, a soundbite for all of it. And, that you took it out of context. Or if it wasn't out of context, he didn't mean it. And if he did mean it, then you didn't get it.
But can you imagine? I mean, in England, that someone like Trump wouldn't be able to stand, especially if against that many felonies. British are
How is
brutal.
he ever going to come here to this country on
he
diplomatic
can't. He
visits?
can't. He can't literally.
He's going to have to
go
send
anywhere.
Vance. He's going to have to send Vance.
Yeah.
And I hope every interview that he does in this country takes place outside of a DFS.
Okay. Let me ask you a question then. Do you think that they didn't actually vote for Trump, that they voted for Vance? Because...
Yeah, because, I mean, Trump's going to be 82 by the end of his term.
Yeah.
And
he, I mean, if he pops his noggin...
his clogs, yeah.
That would put J.D. Vance in charge. So... that would put J.D. Vance in charge. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's right, because I think with the Republicans, they were fighting against... They were pushing this agenda that the Democrats will ruin children's lives.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that.
By feeding them and letting them live...
their authentic lives.
Yeah, and being able to read books.
Yeah. You know, and... I don't know why Americans do not understand how to be smart.
No, I'm
not saying all Americans.
No, I'm just saying
that's
a certain part of their political
spectrum. Yeah.
They're kind of afraid of knowledge or information because they're afraid of critical thinking, because to do so would dismantle a lot of preconceptions. You know, they've built, because it's about identity, isn't it?
Yeah. So for that, if you're talking about identity, so they're happy to bury their head in the sand when it comes to their identity, but when it comes to others' identity, they want to shout about it.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up, I was raised by evangelicals. So, and a lot of
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
A lot of evangelical beliefs or opinions of the unknown is based on small little nuggets of information, that, like, there's a little piece of information there about that demographic, a little piece of information about them and there, and there's this massive chasm of context and history and things, and they just connect those dots and make that assumption based on that.
Yeah.
And that's why, they still believe that some cultures are
eating the cats and dogs,
or some cultures are cannibalistic.
Yeah.
Some cultures are, their long held, millennia old beliefs and customs are rooted in the occult and things like that, when it's just that it's just this scary, mysterious thing that they're too scared to look into a little bit harder.
Yeah.
So, and it's easier to raise yourself above other cultures when you're able to dismiss them based on your own ignorance.
Yeah, I agree.
And that the same thing applies to the current evangelical opinion of trans people, because the only trans exposure they've had is, more often than not, probably pornography. So that's why they tie pornography to trans identities, because especially like evangelical men, who, let's face it, they are bigger perverts than they will ever admit to, and I would love to see their Google search history. The only trans women that they actually acknowledge are the ones that they consume in pornography.
Yeah.
Therefore, transness equals pornography.
Yeah.
Because they've never tried to actually look out in the world around them and see the human beings behind transness. So, do you want to wrap this up?
Okay, so, I didn't actually get into all the talking points I wanted, because I had a list of things I wanted to talk about. But what I am going to say is from EU statesman, veteran pollster Frank Luntz said on X, voters already know everything there is to know about Trump, but they still wanted to know more about Harris's plans for the first hour, first day, first month, first year of her administration.
She had that plan.
She had the plan.
She had that plan.
Yeah.
And she tried to explain it, but like, no, everyone, but the right-wing media were too busy going, what is she talking about? Just shut up and listen for a minute and you'll know.
Yeah. That's the end of my take.
All right. Okay. One short dinner break later. Before we move on, do you remember that time we needed our carpets done? And we hired that guy, and he said it would take a few days, it would cost this much. And then we came back a few days later, and the carpet hadn't been done. Yeah. But not only that, but he backed up the toilets, and there was toilet water everywhere, and we had to bring in someone else to clean up his mess and do the job he said he would do. Mm-hmm. And then a couple of years later, he called us up again and he said, "Hey, do you want me to do your carpets again? I can do it better this time." And we said yes. Do you remember that ever happening?
No.
Exactly, no. So I still don't understand how Trump has been rehired. Yeah.
No, I don't get it either. I mean, it's been said in the papers as well, and all over social media. Like, he wouldn't be able to get a job in McDonald's. He wouldn't be able to travel most places.
Yeah.
Especially the UK. I mean, if Snoop Dogg can't come here, why the hell should Donald Trump?
And Snoop Dogg's way better for everyone's mental health.
He's so much cooler as well.
Yeah. Okay, so I just thought, as a nice way to round this off,
go on.
I'm gonna share some good news from this whole thing.
Okay.
So I want to talk about two people.
Mm-hmm.
First is Democrat Sarah McBride becomes first openly transgender member of the U.S. Congress.
Yay!
So
that's amazing.
Yeah, I know. Now, okay. I looked at stories on both the left and the right. There were only two stories I could find from the right.
Okay.
On Grand News.
And on the left.
And essentially they all just regurgitated the same talking points. The only thing is that the Gateway Pundit and Breitbart...
Breitbart?
Yeah,
oh my
I know,
God.
I looked at Breitbart. For some reason, they basically copy and pasted everything off of Reuters.
Oh.
But both felt the need to insert a note about her being a biological male who transitioned to a woman. Everyone else managed to tell the story in the most civil way possible, but for some reason, Gateway Pundit and Breitbart had to add that little caveat in there because, you know,
they're just trying to stick their oar in.
It's just like, no matter what you think of this story, or you think of this person, or you think of this policy, remember,
she's a man. No, sorry.
She was born a man.
Yeah, that's it.
You know. No, she's not a man.
No.
She's a woman. McBride is now officially the first openly transgender person to be elected to the U.S. Congress. McBride previously served 2 terms as a Democratic state senator in Delaware beginning in 2020, before last night winning her race to be Delaware's newest congressperson. McBride ran her campaign with a focus on expanding access to healthcare and lowering healthcare costs. She said, "Healthcare is a human right. In the wealthiest nation on earth, any person left without health coverage is a moral failing." And I think this is fantastic.
Oh yeah,
it's fantastic news.
It's amazing news. It shows that transgender people are as human as everyone else.
I mean, it also shows that no matter how dark things get, there's always those little slivers of light.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, progress is slow.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We have to make progress, we have to chip away. Yeah. You know, little bits of you have to chip away at the injustices. You can't just do sweeping change. And as much as I wish we could, it can't have sweeping change. There was a quote from her.
Yeah.
Asked what message young transgender Americans should take from her expected election, McBride said, "Anyone who worries that the heart of this country is not big enough to love them should know that they belong. Our democracy is big enough for all of us."
Oh, that's wonderful.
I really hope that proves true, because it's going to take people like McBride and others to kind of stem the tide, you know?
Yeah, agreed. I totally agree. I mean...
So, and because one of the main things that was pointed out is Trump's win now means that up to 20 million people could lose their health care. So on a platform of, you know, healthcare for all.
Yeah.
The healthcare thing doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean you know, why is it like she said, it's a human right.
Yeah.
You should be able to get healthcare, and you know, in the UK they take it out of our national insurances and various other taxes.
Well, that's
right?
what national insurance is for.
Yeah.
We have national insurance, not private insurance. And the thing is, they don't have to pay for firefighters. They don't have to pay for police, because it's all paid for through their taxes.
Yeah.
And some states have other ways of raising money for the police, but the point is, they are the only, I think, developed country. Somebody said it is such a complex. It's such a complex problem that only 33 out of the 34 developed nations have managed to figure it out.
Oh, that's I just want to roll my eyes.
You roll your eyes so far back, you're looking at your own spine.
Yeah.
So, with that, I also want to talk about, because I don't want to make this too long.
Go on.
I also want to talk about Zooey Zephyr.
Who's Zooey Zephyr?
Zooey Zephyr.
Okay, Zooey Zephyr. Love the name.
Yeah.
It's a great name.
Hang on one sec. I've lost my note. So Zooey Zephyr is, silence transgender state lawmaker Zooey Zephyr re-election in Montana.
Oh, wonderful.
So basically in April 2023, she was censured for basically calling out Republicans for their just ridiculous number of anti-trans laws. What she said was she said that this is ridiculous.
All right, no, 1 minute. Are the American people that that much in denial that they actually believe that transgender reassignment or any kind of healthcare happens in school? Because
I know. This is ridiculous. Trump said, Jimmy, I love you, and then goes to school and comes home. Like, first of all, can you imagine the absolute euphoria trans people would feel if they could leave the house in the morning in their assigned body and then come back home in their preferred body? How amazing would that be?
It would be amazing. Of course it would be amazing, because it just means that they can validate themselves and be themselves.
Yeah, but the fact that the MAGA believe this claim shows how little they know, not only about the transition process, but the actual medical side of transitioning.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking years of hormones and numerous surgeries that cost a fortune. How are schools providing gender reassignment surgery when they can't even afford stationery?
Because how many schools and teachers are actually going out and using their money to buy stationery for the rest of the class?
I mean, those bake sales they're having are for basic
necessities.
Necessities. It's not to fund these unasked for gender, like they really seem to think like a school's going to decide, no, you should be a girl and you should be a boy, go to the nurse's office, you're going to go have gender reassignment surgery, we don't need to ask your parents. It is the most ridiculous. The fact that people at these MAGA rallies believe this.
I know.
The fact that he just said it and they were like, that's right. That sounds about right.
Thing is, what surgeon performs surgery on somebody that doesn't know that they're about to have surgery performed on them?
Yeah, I mean,
we've got kids in school, right? How many times, If they've just bumped their heads, we get a phone call.
They won't even let our kid take his asthma pump without calling us first.
So, no,
It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous.
Sorry, I had to say that point.
Okay. But Zooey Zephyr, she was not permitted to speak in the chamber, and she hadn't spoken since April 2023 because she refused to apologize for saying some lawmakers would have blood on their hands for supporting a ban on gender-affirming medical care for youth. Now, the gender-affirming medical care for youth was not bottom surgery or mastectomies or anything like that. It was puberty blockers. And for those who don't know, puberty blockers, you give them to teenagers who might be questioning their gender identity or know for certain, and all it does is it presses pause on puberty.
Yeah.
It stops that trans girl from developing an Adam's apple and a deeper voice and male body hair, and it stops that trans boy from developing breasts and things like that. That's all it does, is it just presses pause, and once you take them off of puberty blockers, their puberty kicks back in. All it will do is make them a late bloomer. That's it. It doesn't mutilate their body or anything. I mean, what they're basically saying is all children must experience puberty at the same time. You know, never mind the fact some kids develop early, some kids develop late, some kids develop like on the time
within the time frame.
Yeah. But the fact is, why not give kids a chance? Because if that kid who thought they were a trans girl or a trans boy realizes no, they're not, and they come off of puberty blockers, all that happens is they go through their natural development just a bit later.
Yeah.
And by the time they reach like adulthood, you know, that's all it is. It's just a stopgap.
Well, do you know what? That's amazing. I didn't know that, so it's amazing that you've explained that. Because
when they talk about gender affirming care for youth, you know, all these alarmists, they jump on this idea of, you know, of bottom surgery because they are so obsessed with genitals. They are absolutely obsessed with genitals. So that's all they think about is, what are you doing to this child's genitals? Like, why are you so concerned with a child's genitals?
I mean, they're quite happy to have state laws that will decrease child labour, that make...
increase child labour.
Increase child labour and not protect children. And also, you know, having marriages at the ages of 14, 15.
Yeah, I mean, the same states that were the first to, like, ban abortion, or the same states that are constantly screaming about abortion and wokeness and are trying to implement anti-LGBTQ laws.
Yeah.
A lot of them are the same states that allow men to marry 12-year-old girls because of religion, you know? But I can't remember who it was, but there was a little while back, somebody wanted to implement some kind of bathroom bill that would require genital inspection in schools. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? What kind of middle-aged man even skirts the idea of implementing a rule to inspect children's genitals? There is something seriously wrong with this person.
I agree with you.
And these people need to stop obsessing over trans people's genitals.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
So going back to because I'm getting angry. Going back to Zooey Zephyr, right? She said in April 2023, in an April 2023 debate, if you are denying gender-affirming care and forcing a trans child to go through puberty, that is tantamount to torture, and this body should be ashamed. If you vote yes on this bill, I hope the next time you bow your heads in prayer, you see the blood on your hands. Now, to the uninitiated, that might sound hyperbolic or inflammatory, but there, you know, I'll link in the description of this video studies that show that the rate of suicidal ideation in trans people drops significantly once they are given access to trans healthcare.
I can imagine that.
So not forcing a trans child to watch their body develop in a way that just is so dysphoric and incongruent with what they know about themselves. You know, not making a trans boy grow breasts, not making a trans girl develop a beard and an Adam's apple.
Yeah.
You know, that is suicide prevention. So,
I mean,
and
can you imagine how many kids are now going to be living in fear? Like literal fear.
Absolutely.
Without coming up to their parents, without going in. They're not protected at home. They're not protected at school. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to the internet. And then what's going to happen then?
well,
I mean, this is, but yeah,
so
I mean.
I want to conclude her quote.
Go on.
I have lost friends to suicide this year. I've had families call me when there have been attempts by trans youth, including one trans teenager who attempted to take her life watching one of these hearings on legislation targeting the transgender community. But in response, Republicans called her words hateful and accused her of inciting a protest that brought the session to a temporary standstill. Some even sought to equate the non-violent demonstration with an insurrection. Now, if there's anyone who knows about insurrections, it's Republicans.
Yes.
So...
Yeah.
But... So she went through all of this. She basically had to do her job from outside of the chamber. She spent a year basically going as close to the chamber as she could and sitting there with her laptop because she still needs to represent her people, her constituents. But now she's got re-elected and she's now allowed back in the chamber. And I think with all the shit that's going on, knowing about her and Sarah McBride, which I mentioned to you as well, was the name of my first school crush
Yes.
when I was 10 years old. Sarah McBride.
That's just so weird.
But I just think it's important to look for the light in all of this darkness.
Yeah, I agree. Do you know what, though? In about 10, 12 years, we're going to have some excellent TV. Movies about Trump and all the things that he got up to.
No,
and things
well, the first movie's already come out.
I know.
And I guess in a way it's like our new... it's our new Iraq, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, all those filmmakers are going to be wanting to make films about it, but I'm not looking forward to it. So, is there anything else we want to mention?
No, I'm good.
Okay, maybe we'll do once all the polls are counted and stuff. We could do a deeper look into all of it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot there.
There is so many different types of polls. Plus, we don't really know what he's going to put into play. I mean, we know about Project 2025, but
yeah. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, so thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe. We try to do this every day, except on the days when we're emotionally exhausted by unexpected news. You can find us on the socials at 2 Filthy Liberals. Got it right that time.
Hey.
So until next time, try to stay strong and stay positive, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.